Hello? Are we alive? I believe. Let's see. Oh, we are live. Okay. Man, it's been a long time. Hope I remember how to do all of this. Robert already in the chat. What's going on, Robert? Okay. 2022. It's been a while for this since we've done this podcast. Got to make sure that I have my sea legs here. So like usual, we're going to go around and do our checks, make sure everything is looking and sounding good. No dropped frames or anything on my end, which is great. Mic audio seems to be coming through. Robert, if you want to let me know on your end if everything looks and sounds good, that would be great. Got our camera 2, overhead view. Got camera 3 back there. And then we have a fourth camera angle that we're going to play with as well today. Let's see. Let's go through, make sure we are up on Twitch. We are live on Twitter. Great. Don't know about Facebook. Let's see. Yep, Facebook is up as well. Awesome. Let's see. Where's my chat? Let's pull up Restream chat. Probably got to log in because it's been so long. Yup. Let's see here. Oh, I got to do a captcha. I got to pick all the crosswalks. Boom. I get the crosswalk. That's another one. The worst is when they go away and then they keep reappearing and you have to keep clicking. Let's see. There we go. We are live there. Fantastic. Okay. So we've got a new intro, new stuff going on. Lots to talk about today. So let's just go ahead and get into it. I hope I remember the intro here, what I'm supposed to say. But let's give it a try. Hello and welcome to the Creative Control Room podcast. This is a show for creators, makers, and doers where my goal is to help you make to the max. I'm your operator, Ryan Hafey. This is episode 97, and today I'm going to give you a tour of my newly revamped studio here, and we're going to be talking a little bit about some of my resolutions and things that I plan to do for 2022. Robert in the chat says things are looking nice. Very good. I'm glad to hear it. Got some coffee on board. So that was a new intro. And we're just keeping it kind of consistent because if you've ever seen this animation before, by the way, feel free to click that subscribe button wherever you happen to be watching or listening, and follow me on social media at Ryan Hafey on Instagram, Twitter, and also on TikTok. Plan to be doing more of those, at least on TikTok especially, over the course of the year. But the intro kind of matches that same general theme. I may eventually add either some sound effects or some music to it, but I thought I would simplify in comparison to the previous intro that I had. So, welcome. It's 2022. This is actually my last podcast episode that I did, which was the one where I announced that I would be taking a break, was on October 16th, 2021. Which means that it's been exactly 3 months now since I've done one of these podcasts, and feels a little strange to be back. But the goal for the new year is to kind of bring this podcast back. The format's not going to change a whole lot. This was, I think I overthought this podcast a lot. I think a lot of what I did previously, I put a lot of pressure on myself to really, make this into, I put a lot of pressure on myself to kind of make this more than it needed to be, when in the beginning it was just meant to be kind of a place for me to kind of come and talk about the things that I'm working on, share some tips, share some things, and talk about this, being the creative control room that I have here. So that's kind of what we're going to stick to. We're still going to do some news when it's available. We're still going to do updates. We're still going to do tutorials and things like that. I do want to document a lot about what's going on with this studio because it's changed, and it's probably going to change even more as we go forward, because anytime I have a new studio, I can't help but tweak things. Anson and Co. in the chat, what's going on? Good to see you. It's been a while. Thanks for the welcome back. So real quick, I just want to talk about, I guess, the end of 2021. Man, that was it was an insane last 3 months of the year or so, which is part of the reason why I took a break. But between work and I feel like it was kind of the same for just about everybody. It seemed like everybody was just really struggling to get through 2021. It was a crazy year, and even this year started pretty crazy for me. So at the end of December, so I think December 28th, packed up and headed to Florida for a work trip. And that was a 6-day work trip. So it was a long work trip. I was in Florida. We had an event on New Year's Day, January 1st, that I was working. So spent New Year's away from the family, which was hard enough in and of itself. It was a very busy weekend. Actually came home with a case of COVID from Florida. So, as soon as I get home to my family, I take a test and realize that, oh, great, I've got to isolate now for however long. Feeling fine now. Don't need to get too deep into that. But it's been a little rough. But now that COVID's gone, had some time to kind of decompress a little bit and relax, we're ready to jump into 2022. And I'll talk about some of the things that I have planned for the year a little bit later. But I want to make the most of this year, so that's what we plan to do. So without further ado, let's get into the studio tour. We've got this couple different angle for you here, but I'm going to pull out another angle for you. I've got this camera plugged in here. Let's see if it's coming through. Awesome. So this is actually, let's go to this camera real quick. This is actually the Sony a7 IV. I got it. When did I get it? I think it was right before I left for Florida, because I brought it with me. So at the very end of December. And there are a lot of things that I like on this camera in comparison. I do have the, I am a still a Sony a7 III shooter. I love this camera, but there are a number of improvements on these things, just little tweaks, little improvements that I really enjoy and that have really made this thing a lot more fun to use in comparison to the a7 III. So I'm not going to touch on this a ton today. I might do a video on it. I might dedicate a podcast episode to where I discuss all the things that I like about this camera over the a7 III. But for now, just to kind of give you a little glimpse. And then the small rig cage is already out for it, and I already have that on here. I'm a big cage guy. I like being able to hold on to it. I like the protection that it gives the camera. I like the ability to attach things if I want to. So that's what's on here now. Anyway, let's get back to this. So I've got here, let's see, this is the studio. Hope you can hear me. This is what we're working with. Down there. That's a little messy down there, but that's okay. So let's talk a little bit about this studio. And I won't go over everything because there's a lot of stuff in the studio here that's still from the previous studio, and you can literally go back and watch any previous podcast episode. I've even done studio tours. Past podcast episodes have done studio tours of this space. But so I'll go over the things that are different. The first being obviously this desk right here. This is it's the Uplift standing desk version 2 commercial. I've wanted a standing desk for a while. I've wanted to just be able to walk in to my creative space here, just kind of walk up to it and get ready for, and get started. But also have, obviously, if I'm feeling tired, the ability to sit down. This thing is great. It's got a little paddle over here that, when pressed, there you go. And then it has settings. So if I double tap up, it goes right back to my saved standing position. I also have another save position for the sitting position. This is cool. So this is an optional add-on. This is a PC holder. I don't even know what it's really called, but it basically just holds your PC tower. You can turn it, you can move it in and out. And you know, when I lower it, I just kind of pull it out so some of the cables have room to move around. But this is kind of cool. Moves up with the desk and down, and it holds quite a bit of weight. Above it here, I have a little cubby hold for my phone or whatever else you want to put there. I have a little locked storage here. I've got a little locked storage here, put a laptop or whatever. Now, one thing that I did lose on this desk in comparison to my other one was the drawer storage. So I thought about what I wanted to do. This room that I'm in, as you can see, I use just about all the available space in this room. So there's not a lot of extra room to work with. So what I decided to do was just get some under desk storage, some kind of open top bins that I could pull out, which is what you see down here. Just some of these little cloth bins from Amazon. And I also installed a little light bar here so I could see what I'm getting into when I'm down here. You can ignore this terrible cable management. I do plan to, that power strip there is not part of the desk. I added that on separately, but I may move that up, attach it underneath the desk so I can at least manage some of these power cables a little bit better. But that's what we're working with for now. This light bar was actually, and we'll get into these shelves a little bit, was actually what I was going to use around these shelves here, but I bought two of them and installed them and then turned on the camera and realized when you turn down the brightness a little bit, let's see, is it going to work for me? There you go. When you turn down the brightness, you have some serious flicker issues, which if you're using for on-screen, you doesn't work out so well. Solve the Rubik's Cube while you're doing the tour. That would be impressive. Well, Carson, okay, I'll do that just for you. So let's see. This is going to be a challenge, but we're going to try it. So that's the under desk storage there. What else we got? Everything else on the top here is kind of the same. You know, this is probably not going to work because this is just too much of a distraction. But we'll just keep talking. You know what? Maybe we'll just take a break to solve a Rubik's Cube. Is that good content? I don't know, Carson. You tell me. Let me think. What else can I say? Oh, yeah. So let's talk about the shelves. I'll do that. I'll try to do my best to talk about the shelves while I'm solving this here. So the shelves, because of the standing desk, and I'll show you. So you can see how closely the monitor gets up here. The shelves that I had previously, I had them one here and about one here. And obviously, this shelf had to be moved up. The one below it was about right here. So the shelves obviously had to move if I wanted to be able to have a standing desk in this spot. So I moved one desk up, and then I moved this other shelf to the back here. I had to actually cut it and shorten it a little bit so it would fit in this space. But there it is. Got to get a couple more moves in here on this Rubik's Cube. Let's see. Bet Carson didn't think I could do this, so we'll see. We'll see what he thinks after. And then, so the shelves moved, and I was so happy how they turned out. They fit perfectly. In fact, if you watch the desk rise, it looks like it just fits like a perfect puzzle. So I've got the shelves moved around because those light bars that I showed under the desk did not fit or did not work with, had all the flicker issues. I decided to go back to the old LED light strips that I had before. Actually, I had to buy new ones, but I just went back to the LED light strips, which just kind of wrap around and go up and down and things like that. Which was okay. It was kind of a bummer. I was hoping to have the light bars just because they looked a little bit better, but whatever. So that looks great. Everything in here is still, for the most part, voice controlled. Though the only difference is now I have commissioned my 15-year-old daughter to rename everything. So, for example, my key light here is now Carl. Hey, Google, turn off Carl.
Got it. Turning Carl off.
So now, if it's like a completed Rubik's Cube, some would say, yes, thank you, Carson. Hey, Google, turn on Carl.
All right. Turning Carl on.
So Carl is on. We have other things, camera 1 here is now called doohickey. These accent lights are called bling bling. Camera 2, which is actually this angle and this angle combined, are now known as Shazam. What else? Oh, by the way, this is here's Tum Tum. We're gonna be all over the place today. I hope you're okay with that. Tum Tum, hey, what are you doing? Tum Tum has a growth on his ear that keeps bleeding and has to be removed this week, hence the cone. So poor Tum Tum. So let's talk too about the sound panels. So previously, you remember that, or you may remember, I had these really crummy, and I still have them somewhere, obviously, but I had these really crummy sound panels back there. They didn't look so great. They didn't hide the cables very well. I wanted to get something different, and something thin and something just kind of consistent. I didn't want to go with red anymore, or like I wanted something a little bit less distracting. I mean, I know I have a ton of stuff here, but whatever. But I toiled actually quite a bit over what I wanted to put back there. I thought, I was going to go all in and pay $600 for a single acoustic panel, like a 6-foot by 4-foot panel. But given the length of the shelves from the wall, that wasn't going to be possible because I wanted to be able to get it all the way through the wall. And I actually moved the shelves away from the wall a little bit in order to be able to move some cables through, because before I had to drill a hole in one of these shelves and I didn't want to have to do that. So I needed some very thin panels, something affordable, something that I could install quickly. And this is actually what these panels look like. I mean, look how thin that is. Very thin, but they're also very, very firm. And there's a couple instances where I had to cut into them to get them to fit around some of the hardware on some of these shelves. But they were able to do that. They held up well. Once I stuck them to the wall, they stuck just fine. And I've got a few left over to spare in case anything, in case I need to replace any of them or want to use any more. Okay, what else we got? Looking good there. So that's sound panels. This camera angle, I initially had, when I updated the studio, I had the camera down here, but I decided, I think an overhand cam is probably the best option. And to be honest, if I wanted to, I could just flip this up and aim it at myself. A little bit different if the desk is down, but I'm enjoying standing here, so I don't see myself wanting to sit down to do these podcasts. Maybe unless I'm injured or something. All right, hold on. Let's get some more Rubik's Cube out of the way here. Let's see, where we at? Carson's probably not even on here anymore. He's probably just sending me on a wild goose chase of solving a Rubik's Cube while he logs off. But Carson, if you're still here, there you go. The Rubik's Cube is solved for your entertainment. So there we go. There's a podcast studio. Trying to think if there's anything else that I'm missing here. Comes with a couple power grommets back there, which I haven't utilized all of them yet. I do have a lot of power. Now this is content. Thank you, Carson. Some things back there. Some camera. Got my cameras there. Decided to pick up the Oculus, which I'm enjoying. I broke that drone the other day flying. It fell out of the sky, and when it landed, it burned up the flight controller and the ESC and singed some wires. So I actually have a new drone on the way, which I'm sure I'll show off after the fact. Some stuff up there, and there we go. Whoops. Okay, so there we go. There's the new studio. and I love it. I'm very pleased with how everything turned out. There were some bumps in the road. Oh, I also had when I ordered the desk, I ordered it I think on December 15th, and because there's so many different parts, it was shipped in a few different boxes. The desktop came in a couple days later than some of the other accessories. Thank you. The unfinished cube was driving me nuts. I'm a little OCD. No problem. Sometimes I scramble it up so that I can take a break and fix it, you know what I mean, and solve it at the desk. Anyway, so some of the items I got early, and then the tabletop came a few days later. I opened up the tabletop, and it had it looked like it was just smashed in one of the corners. One of it might have been stood up when it was shipped, and the corner was all broke. So I had the desk ready to go and to add the tabletop to it, and I had to wait for another tabletop to be delivered. I contacted Uplift, and they were great. They gave me a couple options. The one being they could send a repair kit along with some kind of consolation accessory. They offered me like a kind of like a core chair, a couple other little things or like a store credit. Or they said they would send me a brand new tabletop, and I didn't think the repair kit would work given how crushed it was. So I just got the new tabletop. Luckily, the new tabletop arrived and was in good condition, and I was able to get everything set up. Ultimately, I think, oh man, I had a spreadsheet that talked about all the different costs and everything associated with this build. Did I put it? Where did I put it? That's okay. It wasn't cheap, but I knew that I wanted to go kind of all out with this studio. So I think the final cost ended up being a little over $2,000 for the desk. The desk obviously being the most expensive part, and all these different accessories that I showed you don't come with the desk. You have to buy them separately. Some of the things that I upgraded were obviously the 2-lock storage that I have. I got some casters so I can move the desk around a little bit more easy. The PC holder was also additional. This little accessory I think was free. This is just a little light. It's gonna take a second here. We got this little desk light that's kind of touch activated. There you go. There's a little desk light, give me some extra illumination, but they've got all sorts of different accessories you can choose from. Really cool idea, really cool concept. One of my worries was that the desk would not be sturdy enough to kind of keep my different, all my gear stable. And of course, when the desk is standing, you can still shake the desk around a little bit, but it's nothing too crazy. It gets even more sturdy when you're in the seated position. But that's it. That's the desk. I think I covered just about everything. So moving on, I guess just to talk about 2022, this year, what's to come. I really want to focus just more on myself, on my projects, on the YouTube channel. I want to bring this podcast back. Like I said earlier, I had forgotten that I was doing this for just myself, my own enjoyment, and I turned it into something that I was no longer eager to do. So this is going to go back to kind of being my creative outlet, a way for me to vent or rant or talk about cool things that I've encountered, document the progress on the studio, document the progress on my projects and videos. I do plan on making a YouTube video. I'm scripting it now. I'm going to try a new format for some of my videos going forward on my main YouTube channel. So I'm in the process of scripting that. I'm procrastinating a lot, second guessing myself quite a bit. But I think I just need to get through that first one and kind of understand how that feels. And then the goal is to do the podcast again weekly. And then as far as videos for the main channel, something probably at least every 2 weeks is my goal. Give myself a week to script, a week to film, and get it pushed out. And I think that's what I want to do. I think one of my biggest, and that's not a failure, but I think the thing that held me back in 2021, especially the last half of the year, was I didn't feel like I was working towards anything. I didn't feel like I had much of a purpose. I didn't know where I was going with the podcast. I think I was too focused on an end, like a finish line. Carson says, God forbid he gets a Creative Control Room podcast hat. God forbid I get one. This isn't a Creative Control Room podcast. This is just a red hat. I don't have a hat. If I ever make hats, though, I'll give you a hat, Carson, just for you. But so I didn't feel like I was working towards anything. I just felt like I was kind of working to work. Didn't have really any driver motivation. I just felt very overwhelmed and kind of very spread thin. And now I feel a little bit more relieved. I'm in a better mental state, and I think that I'm kind of ready to attack this a little bit more and try to develop it. I want to. My goal really is at the end of 2022 to be able to look back and be proud of the things that I accomplished and the work that I put into myself and just the different things that I'm working on. And that's kind of where we're at. Let's go check over here real quick. Oh, my mom's in the chat on the old Facebooks. Hi, Mom. Let's see, mute that there. Anywho, so that's where we're at. That's the podcast. We're back. This was fun today. And another thing on my bucket, or not on my bucket list, but on my to-do list, is to update the thumbnails for the podcast channel and the my main YouTube channel. I've grown out of it. I don't like that I look like I'm wearing a crown of some kind, so I'm going to change that. Anywho, if you're still with me, if you enjoyed what you saw, it'd be great if you could hit that subscribe button wherever you happen to be watching or listening, and also follow me on social media at Ryan Hafey on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. That was Tum Tum. Tum Tum, tell the people. Tum Tum, tell the people how you feel. You okay, buddy? All right, we'll get you fixed up on Tuesday. Anywho, thank you so much for being here. Keep on creating, making, and doing. And I forgot how I ended this thing before. So I think we're just going to fade to black and call it a day. So keep on creating, making, and doing. We will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.